Consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission, to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential.
It just, all in my head, when I'm willing to drop all of those beliefs, then I'm much more effective. If I think that a good father looks like this, a good father plays with their kids 6 hours a day, and I play with my kids 5 hours a day, then the only thing that I can derive from that is that I'm not a good father. And that's the problem with beliefs, is if I believe something, it's normally in this universe that no one can live up to, and that it's just not reality. So I get now that good fathers play with their kids as much as I play with my kids. Why? Because I'm a good father and that's what I do. So it's much more internal, right? It's much more, I don't have to know what a good or bad dad was. I'm just me, and that's just great.
Well, you're not judging against other outside parameters, right?
Yeah, once those fall away, then what's left? It's just experience, just other humans, us being here, experiencing this thing, whatever it is.
Right. You're in the moment, right? If I'm playing with my boy and I'm like, I got a lot of stuff to do, he won't enjoy, that time. I have to come to it with love, right? From a place of love and engagement, and really put myself in full attention and loving attention, right? And play. So it could be just 1 hour, but it could be really worth it, or 6 hours or something that's totally crap.
Yeah, quality time versus quantity time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the idea of being present and in the now really served me well, because as a Christian, I always thought the idea was that if I was good enough, then in the next life I'll be rewarded, that somehow something good will happen, and so you better not be bad, because if you're bad, hellfire and damnation, that sucks. I mean, I don't want that.
I want the 72 virgins, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh wait, wrong religion.
Whatever story, whatever religion, whatever. I really get now that Christianity is a tool for me, but it's not. It's not the thing that drives me. So my belief systems in religion and everything had to basically be shrunk down to right now. Right, I can create a heaven or hell right now, and that's all that matters ever. And now is the only time that I have. So worrying about whether I'm good enough then actually is very destructive to me now. And
now is the only time that is.
Exactly. I mean, what else is there?
Gabi, there's your Eckhart Tolle.
Well, from this point, from this state of consciousness, I mean, you could go anywhere and really go far. It's so empowering, whatever you start doing.
I'm curious.
You're saying, what is the opportunities in the private sector? What's next for you? What were you thinking?
And what I want to know is how in sync are you and your wife at this point? Because we all, we can all learn these things, but we tend to learn at different paces and maybe in different directions sometimes. So I'm just curious about how much on the same page are you two?
Very much so. We work with the coach right now, and he coaches in the same way, and we alternate going to him. We'll go to him together. Sometimes she'll just say, I want to go by myself. And what's so great is when there's no meaning or judgment applied to the relationship I have with my wife, then all that's left is my relationship with my wife. And it's beautiful. It's fun. It's incredible. And if we have a beautiful experience, then we really get that we don't have to recreate that over and over again. And if we try, it actually ends up being kind of like, that wasn't it. Mm-hmm. So it's fun that we're both in this state right now where whatever comes up, it's just an experience in that moment, and we get to enjoy it together, get to work through it together, and then what's next? We just keep going. There's no meaning in our marriage. There's no applied judgment.
I know what you're taking it at every moment is that relationship that you have with her. the unconditional, that realization, right? That your happiness is not my responsibility, has been, I think for me, and Tim knows, because Lana always says that. So yeah, definitely, I'm with you in that same space, actually.
Yeah. So I want to let's go back to the question that Gabi was asking. Where are you headed now? What are you, what's on your horizon?
That's
where are you taking this? And
that's what's so exciting about it is I really, really get that the doing doesn't matter, and I get that just the state of being and whatever comes up, and it's just been crazy, because in the past, the Kyle that I was a yes man, right? Like my integrity was such in a place where if you say, "Hey Kyle, will you be there?" I'd say, "Yeah, I'll be there," and then I would never show up. But I want it in the moment, face to face, when I'm talking to you. I want you to like me, right? So if I want you to like me, you say, "Hey, will you be there? Will you go to the party? Will you be here? Will you pick me up here?" I'll say yes all day long, and then fail on the end. And so where am I at right now? What are the opportunities? The opportunities have exploded, and I really get that that's from the level of integrity that I'm resonating with right now. And it's very easy for Kyle to say no.
I was waiting to ask that question.
Yeah.
Because once you get to that place where it's not important to say yes, then the other option is to say no. And how hard is that? Yeah.
It's very empowering to be able to say no, because then they get that when I say yes, I mean yes, and we're all in. Let's do this, and they can count on this from Kyle, and that's shifting the way I speak with people has been very powerful as well. I'm the vagueness is gone. I'm still working on it, but my commitments are much more powerful. I'll sit there and I'll have a conversation where I say, "This is what you can expect from me," versus the vague language that I used in the past.
Does that scare people?
Does
that intimidate anybody? If you come that straightforward, a lot of people I think are uncomfortable with something like that.
It just depends on where they're resonating with, and sometimes it comes across as a little weird, but most of the time I find that it works for people. I was scheduling a doctor appointment the other day, and the woman that I was speaking to she was just very adamant that the paperwork needed to be signed and filled out before I showed up. And I got this sense that she was a little frustrated because over and over and over again, people don't show up with their paperwork done. So I just kind of got that, and I just paused for a second. I said, "Hey, look, what you can count on is that I will show up with the paperwork filled out." And as soon as that was stated, I just felt literally on the phone. She went, "Oh," I was like, she was just like, "Okay, well, thank you. I can count on that." She got that she could count on that. But the thing is, it's not the words; it's the state of being. Because I could say that and not mean it, and people would get that very quickly. But when I'm in the state of being where you can count on this, and they can count on that, then it's really fun. It's really fun.
It's a fascinating subject that people you can study is how how the person, maybe the state of being, just what you're saying, who you are and what you're saying, and then your authenticity comes across talking to somebody, whether they can see you or they can't see you, but it will come across in conversation using the same words that the next guy will use, and you're in two different places and two different intentions and all of that, but there's an energy. It's nothing else to point at is energy. Somehow it has a capacity to put itself through.
We have vibrational receivers, right? As we like to use this term, and we are very sensitive vibrational receivers. We can detect false vibrations or lack of authenticity, right? But there are still people, very talented people, who could trick you. I've been, I could tell you.
I'm married a second time. So.
but when they could trick you, when you yourself is not aligned, when you're not aligned yourself, right? Then you're not really able to perceive their vibration because you yourself is not aligned.
Yeah. And that's a great point. Is anytime something like that comes up in my life, it's just another opportunity for me to become aware and more conscious. If I'm driving down the street and someone flips me off, and I can tell they're saying, "Hey, you asshole," and drive off, I can either apply a meaning to that and say, "This is," judge them, get super upset, or I could just step back and say, "Well, okay, what state of being was I in such that I'd attract that into my life?" Right? Like that showed up. Yeah. And now I get to go into self-inquiry and say, okay, well, I was worried about this, and this. I was, and then it gets to clear up. So now everyone occurs to me as a wonderful tool for me. It's like this universe is just supporting me no matter how it shows up. Whether you call me an asshole or you think I'm amazing, I just get to step back and go, okay, that's what that is, and then drop it. I don't.
Well, they're just saying, hey, you're number one, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly it. You can. Because my experience of that is dependent on my perception of what it is. And if I can shift my perception, then the whole world occurs to me as entirely different.
Yeah. Well, the world, I keep saying this, I'm finding myself saying this a lot recently, is that the world is about as beautiful or as ugly as we want to make it, as we decide that it is.
Right.
You get up in the morning and you can decide, I'm going to have a great day. Guess what? You're probably going to have a good day. You get up in the morning and go, oh, God, I got to do this again.
Yeah.
What are you going to get,
Exactly. And really, it's based on the state of being. If I really get that I'm perfect, that there's nothing wrong with me, that I am pure love, I vibrate pure love, then everything else in the world that I come across can only appear to me as being that as well. But if I place judgment on somebody else, whatever that be, then that's just a projection, right? That's just us as humans projecting what we have yet to forgive about ourselves onto somebody else, right? So if I see somebody as an asshole, where in my life am I an asshole? I get to ask that question. So that when I'm in that state of being, when I get that I really am everything that there is, and it's all perfect and beautiful and wonderful, then everybody else occurs to me like that. And I just don't see what I saw before. There isn't that judgment that can come through there. And what's great is when we as humans vibrate there and we get that there's nothing wrong with us, it's such a huge invitation with the people around us to step into the same space. And it's wonderful to see them transform from a place of guilt, shame, frustration, anger, and finally kind of step into their power and suddenly see themselves entirely different. And really, it takes no words. I mean, sometimes words even get in the way.
Yeah.
But just that vibration, the state of being, if we can be conscious about our states of being, then we invite the whole world to shift.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a common theme in the Abraham Hicks world, being basically that you can't change anybody else, and if somebody is let's say they're not living up to the potential that you see in them, and it frustrates you, the best thing you can do for them is to go inside and just envision them as a better person. Right? Look at them, visualize them as more of what they can be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing physical for you to do. There's nothing even for you to say, as you were saying. It's just about holding that impression. And then that it's an interesting thing how that opens doors for people.
That will stop wars,
Yeah.
Get to that point.
So where, Kyle, the languaging that you're using is doesn't sound so much like coaching. A lot of it, there's other teachers in there. So I'm just curious about whose stuff have you listened to or read or whatever that's affected you.
Yeah, who inspired you? I guess
doesn't sound like Tony Robbins.
Right. I got really wrapped up in the whole motivational side of self-help, where it's just pump you up kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
and it just was so hollow. It didn't work, and I really didn't see any results. But really, all I was ever after is internal peace and love. That's really, like, boil it down. If I said to you that I wanted a house, really, I just wanted a house to be able to look good for you to say, hey, Kyle, you're amazing. Wow, look how awesome you are, so that I could feel loved. I mean, really, that's all it ever boiled down for me, is I just wanted love and peace. And so kind of searching for that, while I was at center, I read Eckhart Tolle. I read Alan Watts. I really enjoy his stuff. My own coaches, there's a guy down in St. George, Shane Scott is one of my best friends, but he showed up in the center as a volunteer, as a very successful man outside of in the world, essentially, very, very successful, showed up as a volunteer and started really challenging my beliefs. And I was being in a state where you want to fight for your limitations. Like, it's, to me as a Christian, what it looks like is, if I get to the pearly gates, there's Christ with his checkboard, right? Like, as he's going along and, like, separating, you're going down, and oh yeah, come on in, right? The pearly gates are open. But he's standing there, he's checking it, and I show up and I'm standing there, and he says, oh yeah, Kyle Copeland, okay, come on in, you're fine. I would have stood there and say, wait, right? What about this? What about this? What about this? So my God had to change for me. And the first time I was in Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the guys in there said that he had made the choice of firing his God and hiring a new one. Now, as a very, very, at the time, very, very devout Christian, I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, fire Christ and take on Krishna. Like, what is that? Oh, and really, I missed the point. And the point was, my God was just my perception of what he is.
Right.
And letting go of that perception of what he is actually allows me to experience him or her or it or whatever that is. I have no freaking idea. And as long as I can continue to let go of my definitions of what God is, then I can actually have an experience, versus fighting for what I think God looks like or is.
Right.
And what's so beautiful about that is I really had to step into a new space of openness. I had to let go of a lot of beliefs. I mean, if we're talking about letting go of the belief that I'm a piece of crap, we also got to let go of the belief that this is what God is. And there isn't a belief you can hang on to and keep others and get results. It's all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the belief that I had to fire my God, or that firing my God was really, it came down to my God at the time was a browbeater. I mean, he was a real asshole. I mean, he looked at me and said, "You're not worthy. You're not enough.
Right.
Try harder. If you tried harder, I'd accept you. If you read more scripture, if you were nicer to people, and all these things that my God was just a projection of Kyle. I made God in my image versus the other way around. And,
right.
And so really Christ at the time was a browbeater. He was a real asshole. And I really just got that was my projection. So
that is a great recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good title for a book too, man. My God had to change for me.
Yeah.
So there's a good title in there.
Subtitle: He was a real asshole.
Yeah.
But I just got that I was perfect. And if Christ exists, if all this if where God's at, that Christ consciousness, that highest level, you can approach it through Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism. I mean, I've looked through all of them. I found so much help as a Christian to understand the gospel that was really talking about through Zen Buddhism, through listening to Alan Watts, through listening and reading Hindu texts. And so going back to where was I influenced? I was influenced really everywhere. I get that everybody that really kind of resonates that we're talking about this stuff, they describe it using different words, but it's all pretty much the same.
Oh yeah.
Same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gabby?
Yeah. No, I kind of come from the same, I guess the same kind of journey. What really made a difference for me was the Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle's.
Yeah.
I remember I was going hiking for hours listening to him. And you know what the funny thing, when I started was, I hated his voice. I remember that. I was like, oh,
I remember saying the same thing. Yep.
yeah. I was like, what kind of voice is that? I cannot listen to this, And I was thinking, and that, I guess I was ready because I was like, what is it happening right now? You resisting, what you're judging. You're judging the person's voice. Listen to what he's saying. I was telling myself, and little by little, his voice, I guess, grew on me, a little more and more, and I was totally. Then I went to the New Earth, a New Earth. His next book, and then Abraham Hicks. I was introduced to by my wife actually, and through that I met Tim. And so, what your observations are, what you're saying, it totally resonates with me because we're talking the same language.
Right.
But I have been in circles where people just couldn't even understand what the hell we were talking about.
Right.
And hopefully this podcast will find its audience, but or they'll think that we're complete nut jobs,
Either way is all right.
Yeah.
They're both right.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah, but as I listen to you, I cannot help but feel this this wave of happiness that I've met another person who came to this realization, because I appreciate it so much, this awareness, reaching that awareness, the appreciation of waking up to this was incredible experience. But have to be careful not to feel superior or anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So, well, I think if you truly wake up to it, you won't feel superior. I don't think that's an issue. If you truly understand, then you just don't go in that direction.
Yeah.
So,
and I get that the moment that I think I get it, I don't.
Yeah.
It's like the moment I'm like, oh, I figured this out. We got it. And I can pin it down. Then that's just another.
Oh, the universe. That's the universe going. Oh yeah, here we go.
Exactly.
Let me drop something on him.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yep.
Yeah. So humility is that's the key here. Absolutely. And also recognizing where each person is on their journey and be sensitive to that. And it's kind of fun, just kind of when you meet a person to kind of try to figure out, okay, what how I've been there. Okay, I know where they are approximately, based on their perceptions and reactions and the way they respond to situations in life, So, you almost want to kind of start telling them a little bit about. I always start telling about myself, because I feel like, you don't start telling them what to do. You tell them what you experienced, and maybe they could get something out of that, So.
All right, I think we're unless you got another burning question, I think we're looking at wrapping up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gabby, good.
I'd like to just add, the coach I work with right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask because you're not promoting anything of your own.
Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what motivated you to. I mean, I contacted you because you posted on a Facebook group that you just wanted to reach out, basically. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk a little bit about that and why you're here, man.
Yeah. So he works with Byron Katie stuff, right? The kind of switching reality. It's just the idea that you can the really only choice that I have is to either choose now, either choose what's going on or not. And if I don't, that's resistance and everything. So he uses really powerful tools for Byron Katie, the anatomy of peace, the anatomy of the what is it called, the Arbinger Institute. A lot of that stuff is very influential. But the current coach, what I love about coaching is that it's all inquiry, and no one, at least the coaches I worked with, they didn't provide any solutions or answers. And if I asked for them, they would never give them to me. And at the beginning that was very frustrating because everybody else did. I wanted the solution. But for coaching, it's just so powerful because it's introducing someone into the realm, into the world of self-inquiry. And what's great is coaches can introduce that, and then it becomes something that you do just because it's part of you. and self-inquiry, and then really a lot of progress, a lot of progression into just love. I mean, that's all it is. This is all this is about is love. And that's what I have found coaching to be for me, is just love.
And that's really, I'm going to jump on you here. This is really why we're talking today, is because you have been through sort of both sides, or maybe there's more sides, but you've been through the therapy side of trying to fix whatever is ailing you, and had little to no resolution out of that. And you found your way into coaching, and that turned your life around, right? It's a different perspective on even dealing with whatever the issues are.
That's right. I remember sitting in therapy sessions or with a pastor or chaplain, and it was a lecture session, right? Like 45 minutes would go by, and I really contributed very little. I mean, it was like, what's going on? Well, this is going on. I describe the behavior, and then we go into a 45-minute lecture session, and many lectures were very similar. And it got old. It got to the point where I was like, here we go again. Like, if this is all there is, then I mean, it does a disadvantage when I think I have the answers, or even if I think I have the answers for somebody else and I'm telling them what those are, it never resonates with them. It never provides solutions,
right.
And it just gets people more stuck, because what works for them isn't necessarily what works for me. So if I come up with their solutions, then it's never going to work for them. So this process of self-discovery and self-inquiry, all a coach is just essentially a mirror that asks questions, right? A coach just gets to show me exactly reality of what Kyle is right now, based on the question he's asking, and really give no judgment on that. I mean, they're
really just asking you to challenge what you believe.
That's it. And not even doing it directly, right? Like just very subtle questions. Are you open to the possibility that that's not what love is, right? Or are you open to the possibility? And what my coach likes to say is, just maybe try this on. Like a jacket, you can take it off anytime you want, but maybe try this on, right? And then I've met other coaches that their language is, this is life where we're at, okay? And here's my simulator, right? This simulator. We're gonna both step into the simulator and simulate life, okay? And now we can have a real discussion, because the moment people are okay with, like, okay, this isn't real, then they can be real about what's going on. And it just, different coaches have different techniques, but really it just boils down to self-inquiry. And the coach that I currently have, he's in Lehi, Utah, but they've started this group, Discover Powerful, and this company called One with Power. And I've started going to these things, both my wife and I, and it's just, I mean, they discuss Course in Miracles, right, which is very powerful, all sorts of different material, but that coaching, that level of coaching is really what helped me transform my life, assisted me in transforming my life, is this consciousness. When someone's at that level and they're asking questions out of zero judgment, that's what assisted me to go and take that on, and that's what they're all about.
Cool.
Yep.
Is there what's the website or something?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the best way for people to find them?
To find out,
yeah, it's discoverpowerful.com, and then One with Power, and they're just getting started. And so they do like 4-day intensives, and that's kind of similar to what Whitney and I did, a while back, that really just kind of laid the foundation, because it created distinctions for us. Before, like, I thought accountability was blame. Right? Like if I held you accountable, I just blame you for doing certain stuff. And then the idea that I can hold you accountable to something is actually truly false. The only person I can hold accountable is myself, and it's not blame, it's not shame, it's just taking on life. So these distinctions, like you were mentioning, when you walk into a room and you start using this language and people don't know what the hell you're talking about, this is the kind of thing that assisted me to really make those distinctions, to now I get what that means in the world of transformation and consciousness.
Right. Cool.
So,
and that's what we're all here for.
Yeah.
You mentioned, Kyle, you mentioned something about some program. You mentioned Miracle something, you were saying, right? What was that again? I apologize.
Course in Miracles.
Course in Miracles.
Marianne Williamson.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that one.
just that's what I found is just there's so much out there that just resonates at a high level.
Yeah, that's one of the great things that I think, and I keep expressing, is that there is no one path to walk for all this stuff. It's, we all get to tinker and experiment and find the stuff that really works for us individually. And there's a flip side to that, because it's not so easy necessarily to find it. But people don't have to worry about being locked into a certain method or a certain person or a certain anything. Whatever works for you works, and it's all valid as long as it works.
And what's great about what works is when it works, it works for everything. I mean, the thing that assisted me through addiction, right, was basically just getting that there was nothing wrong with me. Once I got that, I didn't need my addictions anymore, because that was just trying to help me feel better about myself for that brief, those brief moments that I was in my addiction. So when I got that, I didn't need the addictions anymore. 3 months after getting out of the center, I had a traumatic brain injury. It was a sinus surgery that went completely wrong. He drilled up into my brain. I was in the critical care unit for three weeks. I mean, it was like this sudden chaos. The same principles that walked me through addiction were the same things that assisted me in recovering from a traumatic brain injury. And it's universal. It doesn't have to be addiction. You don't have to be an addict in order to get results. You can really step into the space of taking on life, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. And I also want to add that for anybody who's might be listening to this or watching this and is, kind of maybe a little new to some of these ideas, when you find something that works, you can get results like instantly, and that's how you'll know whether you're onto something, because it feels right to you. But you will, if you're looking, you will be able to see things in your life that are changing right away.
The way of nature is the path of least resistance. Everything in nature is finding the path or gravitating to that path, right? Yeah. And finally finding it. So, yeah, I mean, if that's been like a guiding principle. If it becomes too complicated, it's probably a wrong path.
Yeah.
And the emotion has been a GPS. If you're feeling that when Abraham introduced us to this, that look, you've got this most powerful GPS system, your emotions, right? Up until that moment, I thought emotions were like, things that need to be controlled and ignored, and a weakness, basically. Yeah. Right. Remember that species in Star Trek?
Like Spock and
yeah.
Highly illogical.
Suppressing, the emotion. And I was like, my God, I've been ignoring this amazing guidance system for most of my life. Imagine where I could have been had I known wisdom before. Yeah. Hey, it's been fun and a privilege too, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I'd love to stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it. And best of luck to you. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know. And we're recording this. This is pre-launch for the podcast. So when it comes time to air it, you'll definitely know when it's going to happen. And that's the best thing you could do for us in terms of this, is just once we have the date that it's going to go live, then just let people know that it's there and tell them to go listen.
Will do. I'd love to.
Cool.
Take care and good luck to you.
All right.
Thank you. It's been great. Have a good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around.